Hello, my name's Lisa, and as it turned out, I know absolutely nothing about my family, and my parents are not my parents at all, but let's take a closer look. I don't remember my childhood like any normal kid. Up to 5, I remember nothing, and then only some important fragments. The only thing I knew for sure was that my parents loved me, although quite peculiarly. We never lived rich. We were considered middle class, but in fact, probably we weren't too wealthy. Compared to my classmates, I never had anything of this kind, especially valuable. For example, my GF bought a laptop quite early, at 12, and before 15, there was definitely no laptop at all. Not even the simplest one. My dad brought a laptop from work if he needed to work from home, and that's it. I had the simplest phone, not even a smartphone. It had buttons and belonged to my mom before. Mom, by the way, also didn't have any miracles of technology and fashion brands either. So she also had a button phone, but newer. My only thing of value was my tablet, but this wasn't a pampering. It was a school requirement. I had textbooks and a record book there. Our house was a very simple one floor and 2 bedrooms. Dad's car was a used one, almost a wreck, but it was still drivable. And my parents' whole salary was spent to pay bills and pay for my studies, plus a little more for food and new clothes on sale. But honestly, money wasn't the main thing for me. The warmth, love, mutual understanding were much more important, and we had enough of this. Even my friends, if we got together, preferred to come to my place because my mom and dad were real treasures, and they always had been friendly to everyone. We sometimes had a whole teenage group in my room. As a sociable and initiative person, I was always surrounded by friends. And my friends inevitably found themselves at my house, at pajama parties, holidays, or stuff like that, just out of boredom. And no one tried to ruin my parents' budget. Somehow, we always brought food with us, drinks and rugs. And the girls on their own initiative brought sweets from home, and no one was offended. Well, except my mom. But it was just a little, and for the first time. She believed they would think we were poor, until she realized that sharing was totally a common thing in our group. My parents never forbade me to talk to some of my friends, or to bring friends home. I think this is understandable. As for studies, there were no special requirements either. The main thing was to keep the average mark at the high level, so then I could easily go to a college or university. That is, it never happened that I was scolded for grades. Studying was my personal duty and responsibility. Did your parents make you study? Write in the comments if so. It would be interesting to know the other side of this educational medal. Then, when I got older, a big amount of homework was added to my compulsory education, in the sense that my mom always needed help. Sometimes I cooked dinner for everyone, helped her with the cleaning, washed my things in the laundry room in the basement. Well, I had to keep my room clean. If Mom found some garbage, she introduced sanctions, like a ban on my friends until I cleaned up. But I never took offense, and I didn't dispute these claims. First, it's not difficult for me to help my parents. And second, I had some experience with piglet friends, and it wasn't pleasant at all. When we came to visit one of the girls, her things were scattered around the room, and not some dresses or shirts, but socks and dirty underpants. Can you imagine? Of course, we left very quickly, and the girl made some conclusions and has always been cleaning up since then. By the way, she was so ashamed. So I tried not to spoil the place where I lived, so that it wouldn't bother me like that. Anyway, my life was completely ordinary, and some teenagers may think things were perfect with me. And I should admit, because again, I saw situations much worse, even in wealthy families. When I decided to work as a babysitter, kids loved me. They didn't frustrate me and tried to make me happy the best they could. And then she showed up at our house. A smart woman in expensive clothes, in an elite car of some kind. She was in our house like an exotic flower among the daisies. To be exact, she was gorgeous. And judging by her face, she knew that perfectly well. By the way, Mom and Dad, for the first time in my memory, didn't welcome guests. This woman was really annoying them. And of course, I immediately asked who it was. It turned out this phenomenon was my mom's sister, a senior. She was a successful businesswoman. She owned some factories, yachts, luxury real estate throughout the country, and even on some islands, with a bunch of regalia and some titles. But all this didn't resolve the question. What did Ella, as she introduced herself, forget in our backwoods? Then she just drank some tea, chatted with me and Mom, and left. And I didn't understand anything, but I quickly forgot and started to do some more important things, like homework, as it won't get done by itself. I hoped it all would be over for us and things would be better. But Ella started to appear in my life quite often. For some reason, she came to my school and talked to my teachers. She came to my poetry competitions, and once, she gave me the latest iPhone and praised me for first place in the competition. Honestly, these things began to strain me because it was more like a classic persecution. So, when Ella came again, I told my mom I was being persecuted with some strange intentions. And it was unpleasant for me. But Mom only shrugged and asked me to be patient, as if she could do nothing. I already wanted to play detective story and figure out what was going on. I even started to prepare. I reread a couple of novels and talked to my friends, but it turned out all my preparations were in vain. The truth came out itself, although I would prefer to never know it. Ella confessed everything at our next meeting. In fact, she was my mother. And now, Lisa, you gotta cope with such kind of information. Uh-huh. Of course, I didn't believe it at first. Well, I still hadn't lost my mind just to believe a stranger. But to my deep regret, Ella had all the documents in her hands, including my birth certificate, where in the column Mother, Ella was inscribed, and in the column Father was some left-handed dude I had never heard of. When I hysterically rushed to my mom for the confirmation, or a refutation, not sure what I wanted to hear then, she only nodded and helplessly shrugged. I had never seen her like this before. At the same time, I was very angry with Ella and upset because I had problems. It was very painful. And Ella didn't calm down after the confession. She began to ask me, or rather to order me, to move to live with her, saying my parents are not able to give me what I deserve. And in her house, I would have everything I ever wanted. Fancy things and gadgets, and the best technologies, the best brand clothes and the best teachers. She promised to send me to a wonderful school, to the best universities in America and Europe. All I could ever wish for, even the moon from the sky. It was so strange. You know, some things should never happen to kids, no matter how old they are, because anyway, it's not clear how to react to such things. Agreeing would be like death or betrayal, and refusing, well, these are the prospects. Anyway, everything was very muddy and bad. But one question remained open. How did it happen that I was raised by my mom and dad, not by Ella, and this guy who was listed in my documents? My parents didn't steal me, right? And that was a second question that was never worth asking, because Ella, deciding to be honest, or maybe she had such a plain character, admitted that, yes, my parents didn't steal anyone. She herself gave me to them immediately after my birth, and all that because she, now attention, she didn't want to raise a kid. She, you see, had not yet lived for herself only. That is, she and that guy simply abandoned me like some kind of a thing, a toy. They didn't even think I was actually alive. At that moment, I felt only one feeling, a huge gratitude to my parents, who didn't abandon me, who brought me up and loved me. I really didn't even suspect I was adopted. And while my parents didn't sleep at night, tormented with my growing teeth, saved money for my studies, in the end, they simply refused themselves the things they wanted, to give me much food and clothes, and then a good school education and prospects in life. Ella traveled the world, had fun, built her business, and now she came to our house and spoke of justice? How dare she? But all my moral dilemmas instantly fell into place. I sent Ella to hell and asked her never to return. I immediately told her I wasn't going to have anything to do with a woman who left her kid under someone else's threshold. And I already had my parents, my loved ones and the best ones. So I'm sorry, but you have to go somewhere far away from us. She left. My parents cried and apologized to me, and I cried and said how much I loved them. There were many tears. Yeah, but as a result, we decided to just forget about it and live as we did before. Nothing has changed. Well, except that I learned the unnecessary truth. So there is no reason for nightmares. I never saw Ella again, and frankly, I didn't try to see her. I don't know what happened to her or where she went. These aren't my problems. The main thing was that she no longer touched our family, but she nevertheless tried to redeem her maternal duty in a wrong way, as always. Instead of an apology, Ella opened a bank account in my name with some completely astronomical amount and a will left in my name. My parents and I thought and didn't refuse. Now, we don't need this money, but I'm growing. I may need it. Although, honestly, I really wanted to proudly refuse. This is my story. Better than TV shows, yeah. Write in the comments if you've ever encountered something similar. Don't forget to share this video with your friends. And love your parents, whatever they are.